think I'm like.
All right. Quiet down, please. Wesley, will you read out loud the warm-up, please?
Yeah, sure. Suppose that a basketball announcer suggests a certain player is streaky. That is, the announcer believes that if the player makes a shot, then the player is more likely to make his next shot. As evidence, the announcer thinks the
Wesley, can you read louder, please?
And had a streak of 7 made shots in a row. Is this convincing evidence of streakiness, or could it have occurred simply by chance?
So, streakiness or simply by chance, Wesley?
I think since basketball is a skill thing, that it could be evidence of streakiness.
Okay. Wesley says evidence of streakiness. Anybody agree? Do you want to change your answer?
I'm going to stick with mine because each time, like, you're not 50-50 to make a basketball shot. There's no odds involved. It's just if you're skilled enough to make the shot.
Okay, no.
What if there's wind?
Inside.
Yeah, then what?
Do I have any basketball players in here?
Definitely not.
Yes, me.
Yeah, no.
I play football.
I've heard basketball players say the rim makes a difference. Some rims are bouncier, some rims are double, some rims are tighter, so it just...
That's why you don't hit rim, you hit net.
I think Wesley's wrong.
All right, Sam, you had something you wanted to say.
I was just going to say, like, you can't really determine.
Okay. Anybody say it was by chance? Yes, Seth. I feel like I'm going to regret this, but go for it.
It is by chance because the first one that you made didn't influence the second one that you made.
Thank you, sir.
Might have boosted his confidence to make the second one.
It's just a chance thing. And Wesley, we're going to test, see if it actually is a streakiness thing or if it is just a chance. No, that would be fun. But when I
I
put...
should go. Petty would let us.
Anybody in here a 50% free throw shooter? Yeah. No. Wesley's like a 5% free throw shooter.
I'm at 90%.
Oh, please. Please, no way.
Yes.
What about your neck go?
I'm really good.
Right? His neck's gonna spasm.
Make my neck from going out. You ever have a neck go out?
Yes, I told you. I told you.
They had to put back in.
I had neck spasms and went to the chiropractor, and he said, "Don't play soccer." Right? Right? Heck yeah. Why would I not play? Gosh. So what? It has to be like an extreme amount of pain for me not to play.
I get those all the time.
All right. So, to be able to test if things are simply by chance or if it is an actual streakiness, something that we should expect to see, we're going to use simulations. So the definition of a simulation is right here. It's the imitation of chance behavior based on a model that accurately reflects the situation. That's called a simulation. Today we're going to look at 3 different simulations. Unfortunately, going to the gym and actually shooting free throws is not one of them because I can't ask you to do that on a test. So I got to show you the things that I could ask you to do on a test. So we're going to keep going with the warm-up idea. We're going to assume that this player is a 50% free throw shooter. So a player makes 50% of his shots. The results of a shot don't depend on a previous shot. And we want to figure out how likely it is that the player had a streak of 7 or more shots made in a row. Now, remember, I think it was chapter 3. There were a couple homework questions that I gave you, and it said stuff about the 4-step process. And I said, don't worry about this right now, we'll learn it later. Well, now it's time to learn that 4-step process. The 4 steps are state, plan, do, conclude. We will use state, plan, do, conclude pretty much here on out. Okay, if it says 4-step process, state, plan, do, conclude. There will be a few problems in chapter 6 where we don't have to do all 4 steps, but get pretty used to state, plan, do, conclude. Remember back in elementary school, those math work samples they had you do? That's state, plan, do, conclude. You restated the question. You talked about how you were going to solve it. You actually showed your work, and then you were like, here's my answer. You don't count, Nolan. That's what this pretty much is. We're going to state the question we're going to answer. We're going to give the plan for answering the question. We're going to do the plan, do the math. And then based on our math, we're going to make a conclusion for our question that we are answering. So the state really is just taking the question from the problem, restating it so that we know exactly what we want to answer. So we want to figure out how likely it is for the player to have a streak of 7 or more shots made in a row, given they're a 50% free throw shooter and they took 30 shots. Now I'm going to try and make that sound better when I write my question. How likely is it for a 50%?
Miss Whittle, could you move it up?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I look here, not there, so I never know. Thank you, Jenica. How likely is it for I forgot the word for a 50% free throw shooter? I'm going to abbreviate free throws as FT. To make 7 or more in a row out of 30 shots. Plan. Now we want to create a simulation. So something that will simulate a 50% chance because it's a 50% free throw shooter. So what could we do that is a chance behavior that has a 50%? A coin toss. So we're going to toss coins. I have coins if you need one. If you have your own coin, you can use that. So under the plan, we're going to put that we're going to simulate 50% by flipping a coin. Now we have to assign which side of the coin means we make the basket and which side means we miss. Any preference?
Heads.
Make is heads.
I think on the side is when the wind blows through the room.
Heads make, tails miss. Now, this free throw shooter took 30 shots. So you're going to flip a coin 30 times and you're going to write down your results. So you're going to write down H or T, heads or tails, 30. So, and then we can look and see if anybody gets 7 or more in a row. So under do, you're going to do 1 repetition of 30. Repetition, that word always gets me, of 30. So I'm going to...
That's what I was thinking.
What?
Why don't you just do REP for 1 rep?
I don't know. Because.
That's what you said in the beginning, but then you actually spelled out the whole word.
No. Raise your hand if you need a coin. Don't lose my coins, by the way. I need them later in the year. Again. Again. There's 4. How many of you need a coin?
You're just like, actually, I'm gonna fall. Nobody's gonna have one as low as that 70. Too bad you're missing out on that pizza. Lunch.
My appointment is definitely not until 11:20. That pizza is always so easy. 30? Oh, no. Oh, 30. Are we supposed to get 30 times?
30 times. What?
He gave me the login.
I thought, yeah.
30 times?
Oh, I wasn't missed.
Golf like me.
Oh, that might be better.
What is it? His head. Wait, no. No, it's tail. Almost.
Oh, I'm finally getting to it. It went over there. Oh, yeah, it's like.
Oh, it's right under you. Right there.
I thought that answer.
Damn, I was doing really good.
Heads.
You want
Long
to
hair, tails in a row.
Argentina?
Because like,
Are they even playing right
Mexico's
now?
not gonna reflect the same time.
Oh, I got some first.
Yeah.
Oh,
That one.
Is it gonna
You're
make
watching.
noise?
No.
You're not gonna play the comments?
Not until I'm done teaching. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because the head's heavy, remember?
I think that's falls because I've almost gone all the way.
Well, that's because like the head's heavier, so it's gonna lean. So the tails will be up. The head is heavier, so it's most likely to go down.
He's
So the
full
tails-
of it.
yeah. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, just look at the design. There's way more design on the head. Yeah.
Didn't Wesley look that up or something?
Yes,
It's true.
Yes, because you can believe everything you read on the internet, right, Wesley?
Well,
I can't lie on the internet.
I can just look at this.
I haven't edited this one that's so far away. Grab it a new one.
Where did it go?
It's like way back there in the corner.
Oh, and walking to me was not the same distance as walking to
Wait.
the penny.
Do we need this playlist now or do I need
There's only 2 off.
Hey.
29 and
Anybody need a little more time for flipping?
unless I got the notes for it.
I see some people still flipping, so I'll wait. Bless you.
You got 4 in a row twice. And then a couple 3.
Alright, so we were looking for. I still hear lots of coins. I'll wait a little longer. So okay, Nolan's still golden too.
What?
Nolan's still gold.
I wanted to say Nolan's still golden.
What is still what?
She tried to say Nolan is still going, but she said Nolan.
Oh, I've been done.
Then stop flipping the coin. All right, are
Is
we
that
good?
one of your neck spasms? Is that what happened?
Yes. All right.
Can't teach for this.
If only it was that way, right? We were looking for 7 or more in a row. I got 7 tails in a row.
Did you actually?
I did, but tails means miss. So I didn't make 7 in a row. Anybody gets 7 or more heads in a row? Nobody? All right, so there's 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, 25 of us. So out of 25 people, oh, I'm 26. I know how to count. I did it too. Out of 26 people, none of us got 7 heads or more in a row. Which means that 0% of the time, we would expect a 50% free throw shooter to make 7 or more in a row. Now, when we write our conclusion, we need to say it's based on the simulation. We can't say what would actually happen. We can only make a conclusion based on the simulation we ran. So you should always start your conclusion with based on the simulation. We'd expect, and remember we like to put our answers into context, so we're going to use this question to, you know, like they teach you in English, use words from the question to write the answer. We'd expect a 50% free throw shooter. To make 7 or more in a row. Zero % of the time. And the 0% came from 0 out of 26 people who did the 30 coin flips, getting 7 or more in a row. Yesterday when I did this with 5th period, 1 kid got it. So there were 23 of us there yesterday, so it was like 4% of the time we'd expect. But so my conclusion yesterday was different than it is today because it's always based on the simulation. So yesterday with 5th period, 1 out of 23 got 7 or more heads in a row. So our conclusion said that we would expect them to make 7 or more about 4% of the time. That's why we always say based on the simulation, because your simulation can have different results. Any questions? No? All right. Yes, Seth.
How would you calculate the chance?
I'm sorry, say it
How
louder.
would you calculate the actual chance with that?
We'll look at that. We'll look at that later. It's going to bring everything together, the normal curve, and we're going to learn about hypothesis testing and significance tests and confidence intervals, how confident our answer can be. But first, we have to focus on learning how to find the probabilities. You did not like that, did you? Annika gave me a weird look when I said it's all going to come together. She started shaking her head. Now we're going to look at a different type of simulation. Let's see. I had Wesley read that first one. So, Nolan, go ahead and read this one.
Mountain Dew is doing a special promotion in which they are giving away free prizes. Mountain Dew claims that under the caps of 1 and 6 bottles, there is a prize awarded. Mr. Wilcox has purchased an 8-pack of Mountain Dews. None of them were winners. He thinks Mountain Dew is lying about their claim.
I don't know why I put a question mark there. Sorry. I'm really bad with proofreading. Yeah. He thinks? No. Sorry. All right. So we're going to see if it makes sense that Mr. Wilcox bought an 8-pack and had no winners when the claim is that 1 and 6 are winners. So this time, when we write the question, we're going to use a phrase that is going to become very commonplace. So I have an abbreviation because I'm lazy. And plus, yesterday I couldn't spell the word probability, so having an abbreviation for it is really helpful for me. So asking what's the probability for a unit all about probability is going to be something we say all the time. So I use WTP. So when I ask the question we want to answer, we want to figure out what's the probability you buy 8 Mountain Dews that are not winners Am I off? No, I'm not. Okay. When Mountain Dew claims 1 and 6 are winners. So we need to come up with a simulation that'll give us a 1 in 6 chance.
Why'd you do a question mark again?
Because it is a question. What's the probability? I am asking a question that time. Thank you, though, because obviously I don't know what I'm doing with question marks or periods. All right. You brought your own die today? Cool. We are going to use dice. I have dice. If you're not Seth and you don't have die in your backpack. That one, usually I expect a few kids to have coins and nobody to have dice, but good job. It is a 6-sided die, and it's fair. Okay.
More fair than more little dots.
All right. I have a 6-sided die that just has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, then.
Actually, I have multiple ones. So, plan, we're going to simulate the 1 in 6 by rolling a die. Now, we have to specify what means we win and what means we don't win. So, let's see, who do I want to pick on? Okay, John, I've had. What number means we win?
4.
4. So, 4 means we win.
I know, I was like, that's a good one.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6 means no win. How many times are we going to roll the die? 8 times. Excuse me, because we want to simulate buying an 8-pack. So we're going to roll 8 times. Now, 8 is a lot less than 30, so I'm going to ask you to do 5 repetitions of 8 rolls. And I'll use Jenica's advice and just write reps. 5 reps of 8 rolls. Any questions before I hand out the die? dice. I'm handing out dice, not die. We're all good.
Oh,
Just
could I
one.
get a purple one?
So I'm 45 rolls.
40 roll.
Wait, but does it make a difference between the shape?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I thought we were doing 8 rolls because we ran 8 rounds.
It's too small.
She has like
You're doing 5 repetitions of 8 rolls.
8.
No.
No, we're doing 5 reps. So it'll be 8 rolls and then another 8 rolls.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
it's
so
small.
40 rolls makes sense.
Wait, what
Yeah.
number
I'm
is
just gonna write that down. Oh, I got a 4. I already won twice. Already won twice. 4 was a good number.
I got 4 winners.
I just won the I guess I won once.
I have 1 more. I'm getting 5 so much. I know, but I need 5.
Oh, where is it? I don't know where.
Oh, stop falling off the bed.
I was only off by 2 again. I was only off by 2. 6.
Really? I got it all.
I said 9.
I think it's a single set that you have
At least she has big one this time, so she won't lose it.
Hestia wants to fall the head.
There, that gives you better range.
I have the number 2.
You should have done it the first time, so it's
The winner is the 4.
There's some
Every other number is
Why
1.
John Cross doesn't have one, so she was
I'll do the dice.
I was like, she was there. She was there. I mean,
That's you.
okay, there we go. I got it.
I do. I need about
Underline
600
them, that's
pennies.
You want to put the volume on or no?
What?
You're there here.
what, 7?
Anybody need more time to
rolling.
All right. You should have different roles than me and the people around you. I got one of my 8 rolls that had no 4s. I had a 4 in this first set of 8. I had a couple 4s there, a couple 4s here. This one had 4 4s. But this last one had no 4s. So when I write my conclusion, because I'm not going to go around and ask everybody this time. Last time it was easy. It was 1 repetition. I'm not going to ask how many of the 5 repetitions this time. So when I write my conclusion, yours may not match mine because you may have no winners. You may have multiples repetitions with no winners. Or you might have gotten a winner in every repetition. So your percent may not match mine. So when I write this conclusion, let's see what color haven't I used? I'm going to say based on my simulation. Now I'll underline the part that would be different for you. Based on my simulation, I would expect to buy an 8-pack of Mountain Dew with no winners. Yes. The percent is what's going to change. So for me, I got 1 out of my 5 with no winners. 1 out of 5 is 20%. You may have a different percent than me. So I'm going to say I would expect to buy an 8-pack of Mountain Dews with no winners 20% of the time. You may have 0% if you got winners in all of them. If you have 2 without winners, you'd have 40%. Did anybody get more than 2 without winners? Really?
I got 4 out of 5.
Wow. Okay. How many non-3?
But
So
one
you
had
would say
4.
60%,
Yeah.
and you would say 80% of the time. Usually I get 20%. It's the most common. Any questions?
So if all of them had at least 1 4, then it would just be 100%. No.
0.
0.
Because you got a winner in all of them. All right, so do you think that on your test I'm going to ask you to flip coins or roll die?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to, you can. But to make it easy for me to grade, or if you take the AP exam and they ask you to do a simulation, so it's a quick grade, we need to know how to use the table of random digits. So now I'm going to show you how to do the Mountain Dew simulation with the table of random digits.
Oh, the orange one?
The orange one. Which, if you have it from the last chapter, get it out. If you don't, I do have a few extra copies, so raise your hand and I can bring you one. You guys thought this was going away.
I left it at my house. You look at it, throw it away.
Annette. Yo, Annette. Annette.
What?
What are you doing? Are you watching the Mexico one though?
What?
Are you watching the Mexico one?
No, I'm watching it.
Oh, me too.
What?
Everybody
Oh,
got it?
no.
No,
Wait, did you
Everybody
work the
good?
dice back? You worked
In
the-
a minute. I'll collect them in a minute. Alright, so like I said, we're going to do the Mountain Dew one again. So I didn't put state because we're answering the same question. I didn't want you to have to rewrite the same question again. That's kind of silly. So this time for our plan, we're not going to roll a die. We're going to use the table of random digits. So we're going to simulate the 1 in 6 winners. Using the table of random digits. Six is a single digit number. So when I read the table of random digits, I get to read single digit numbers. By the way, that was the biggest thing that tripped you guys up on your Chapter 4 test. A lot of you use the incorrect length of labels for reading the table of random digits. If the total number of things you're looking at is a single digit number, like 6, then you read single digit numbers. If the biggest number is a 2-digit number, then you have to read everything as 2 digits, because how do you know if a 1 next to a 1 is 1 or 11 if you're reading some 2-digit numbers and some single-digit numbers? Wesley.
If it was a 3-digit number, for it to be like a single number, would it have to be 0, 0?
Yes. Okay. So 6 is single digit. So for us, very luckily, we only have to read single digit numbers. We still have to specify what number means it's a winner and what numbers mean it's not a winner. So you guys just want to stick with 4 as being the winner still? Okay. So 4 means win. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, no win. Did I cover all the single digit numbers? No. Which ones am I forgetting?
7.
And? 0. What am I going to do with those numbers?
Ignore.
I'm going to ignore them. That was another thing. If you didn't tell me what numbers you were ignoring, you lost some points.
We have to tell you that?
Yeah. Otherwise, how do I know how to replicate what you did? You gotta assume when I'm grading your test that I am like dumb and I don't know how to do it, and you have to make it absolutely clear that I could repeat it.
Then why don't you tell us? Be like, I'm dumb. I'm grading your test. Explain.
Well,
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a dumb person to grade my test.
because you have smart Alex like Nolan, who's like, oh, she's dumb, then she doesn't know anything. You have to assume I'm dumb.
So I have to,
Make it as
so I have to pretend I have to explain to Nolan, basically.
yes, perfect
Wait, did you-
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need good explanations.
All right. So Lindsay has a question. Yes and no. So if it was a homework question or a test question and I asked you to do it, I would specify a line. I didn't specify a line, so why don't you pick a line for us? 133. So we're going to do 5 repetitions of 8 reps of 8. And we're going to start at line 133. Now with using the table of random digits and all starting at 133, we're all going to get the same answer, which is why it's nice for them if you're doing the AP exam or if it's a test question, then I can have a specific answer I'm looking for. So let's see, I'm going to zoom in a little so that's a little too far. 133, so that's right here. Remember, you don't use 133 as the numbers. And we're going to read single digit numbers. So 4, 5, 7 is an ignore, 4, 0, ignore, 4, 1, ignore 8, 0, and 7, 6, 5, 5. Oops, I forgot a comma. So there's our first repetition of 8. Then for the next repetition of 8, I pick up where I ended. So I'm going to start with the 6, 1, 3, 3, 3, ignore the 0, 2, ignore 0, 7, 0, 5, 1. And there's the end of my second repetition of 8. Continue where I left off, so I ignored the 9, 3, 6, 2, 3, 1, ignore the 8, 1, 3, 2. There's the end of the next repetition of 8. Continue where I left off. I ignored the 0 and the 9. Then I have 5, 4, and I ignore 7. That's the end of line 133, so I drop down to the beginning of line 134 and keep going. 2, ignore 7 and 8. 1, 6, ignore 7 and 8. 4, 1, 6. And then I need one more repetition of 8. 1, ignore the 8. 3, 2, ignore the 9. 2, 1, 3, 3, and ignore the 7 and a 3. You picked a good starting place, Lindsay. So, how many of our 8 packs had no winners? I gave 60%. We had 3 of them with no winners. 4 was a winner. So this one had no winners, this one had no winners, and this one had no winners. So now we can write our conclusion. Based on this simulation, we'd expect to buy an 8-pack with no winners, 60% of the time. Questions? All right, so when doing a simulation, what's the hardest part? You think. What do you think is the hardest part? State? Anybody say state? Plan? Do? Really? You don't like doing the simulation?
You have to do it one at a time.
Okay. Conclude.
I think the planning part's pretty obvious.
Well, hopefully you also saw plan down below. Plan, I mean, that's the only thing that technically changed with each of the simulations. One time we used coin, one time we used a die, then we used a table of random digits. And the plan part is usually where kids tend to make mistakes. So we're going to focus on the plan part for some situations and make sure that hopefully we get it down a little more concretely. So we're going to focus on using the random digits, and just a reminder that table is called table D. If you look up in the top right, oh no, nope,
It doesn't.
top center.
Oh,
Table
okay.
D. I was like, I know it says it somewhere. So if you see the words table D instead of table of random digits, they're referring to that table. So we're going to use table D to help us set up simulations for 3 different situations. So the first one is that we're picking a random part from a bin that contains 20% faulty parts. So what numbers would we want to focus on to simulate picking 20% faulty parts? Seth? I don't have super hearing.
Okay. 0, 1, 0, 2, all the way to 2, 0.
So 0, 1 to 20. Why did you pick 0, 1 to 20?
Because then there's equal chance for all of those. I mean, I could be like 0, 1 to 0, 5.
It could be 0, 1 to 0, 5, couldn't it? If I'm going to go to 5, though, why would I put the zeros in front?
Oh, never mind.
So any way we could make 20%, usually the first one I get is 100, right? Because percent means out of 100. So usually kids go, oh, I need to use 3-digit numbers so that I can represent percents. You could do it that way. It's just going to take longer because you're reading bigger numbers, and then you have all these numbers that are 3 digits that you have to ignore. So if you can make smaller labels all the way down to single-digit numbers, it's going to go quicker. So anything that's going to allow you to get 20%. So like I said, usually I hear kids say 20 out of 100. We got to use 100. So 3-digit numbers. But that's a fraction we can simplify, right? We can simplify it down to 2 out of 10, or even further, like Seth said, down to 1 out of 5. So I'm going to use single-digit numbers. I'm going to use the numbers 1 through 5. I need to specify which number means it's a faulty part. Seth, you want to pick a number for us? 1, okay. 1 means faulty. I'm going to make that with the hat and bottom. That means 2, 3, 4, and 5 are not faulty. Now there are other single digit numbers, so I have to specify what I'm going to do with those. So ignore 0 and then 6 through 9. Now, like I said, if you chose to use 3-digit numbers, it would work. It would probably just take a little longer. You could say 0, 0, 1 to 100 are the numbers you're using, and 0, 0, 1 to 0, 20 are the faulty parts, and the rest are not faulty. So 0, 21 to 100 are good. But then, like I said, it takes longer because you have 101 to 999 that are 3-digit numbers that you might see and you'd have to ignore. So it might take longer because you have a huge amount of numbers you're ignoring. So if you can make smaller labels, it tends to go quicker. But that doesn't always work. Like in number 2. This time we're picking a random part from a bin that contains 23% faulty parts. 23%, 23 out of 100, that's not a fraction that I can simplify. So I have to use 100 numbers. Is there a way to do 100 numbers without 3 digits?
You could not ignore 0, 0.
I could, yeah, not ignore. Include 0, 0, right? instead of starting at 0, 0, 1, if I start at 0, 0 and go through 99, that's 100 numbers, but it's 2 digits, so it's going to go a little quicker. So let's say 0, 0 through 22 are our faulty parts. And notice that 23% are faulty, but I stopped at 22 because the 0, 0 is that 23rd number. And then 23 through 99 are the good parts. And are there any other 2-digit numbers that I have to say I'm going to ignore? No. So 100, if I can use 2 digits, there's not going to be anything I have to ignore. So it's going to go quicker rather than having to ignore a bunch of 3-digit numbers. Seth, you wanted to say something and I kept talking. Did I cover it?
Oh, for some reason I thought it was one of 23. So I thought
Gotcha.
it would be 0, 21,
Gotcha.
23.
All right, so the third one, I'm going to have you try, talk with people at your table, come up with a way to use the table of random digits so that 20% are unfinished, 30% are faulty, and 50% are functioning. And while you work on that, I'm going to come around and collect my dice. That's right. You guys all use. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, thank you.
27 now?
Right? I think that's right. Oh, 27.
It is. Dog idea for part 3.
Got Argentina. That was it? There's 4 of you. That's right.
I was like, oh, let's see what matters. I forgot I share my account code.
Oh, so it's gonna be influenced by his.
Yes.
Yeah. She's like, guys, don't mind this one.
I'm like, oh, well, let's see. Okay, well, some of these I actually listen to. But number 1, Lil Uzi Vert. Number 2, Trippie Redd. Number 3, Kanye. The other one, it like doesn't. Yeah, they were like all guys. One of them was okay. Kanye West, Lil Peep,
Oh. Yep.
I mean, like I listen to a lot of those songs too, but not so much because of definitely not the number 1 that just said it is. So I can't really.
All right. Annika's gonna put one possible way to use table D on the board. There are other possible correct answers. They're both gonna be boring games, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they have Mexico and Saudi Arabia, and it's 0-0.
There's more quality teams though. That's why I watch this game.
I didn't listen to that much.
Buddy, go.
It's okay because the top songs that were played are all classics.
Okay.
So
Really?
show your top.
I didn't think that was a corner, but okay.
Yeah. That's it.
The best games, honestly, I like the US game. That's against England.
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
game. That was a good game. All right, so Annika chose to use the numbers 0, 1 through 10. 0, 1, and 0, 2, she said were the unfinished. 03, 04, 05 faulty, 06 through 10 functioning. The only thing I would say to add to that is the ignore 11 through 99. I did see some of you that used 3 digits. That is absolutely fine. Did anybody do it with single digits? Caleb, you want to come put it up on the board? Or you just want to say it and I'll write it?
I would choose 0 and 9, so it was like
0 through 9.
Was unfinished. 2, 3, 4 was faulty. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was
0 and 1 are the unfinished. 2, 3, 4 are faulty. And then 5 through 9 are, what was it, functioning? And then using single digit numbers, you don't have to specify any numbers to ignore. Single digits, great way to do it. Double digits, great way to do it. Triple digits, great way to do it. Don't go to 4 digits. That'd just be unnecessary. But you could do it that way. Could always add more digits, just wouldn't be fun. All right. Any questions?
Are we done?
No. We have 2 more little things to talk about.
We have like.
It's Wednesday, so we have a few more
About 2
minutes.
minutes.
So down at the bottom, designs are given. You have to decide if they are good designs or not. So the first one says, according to a recent survey, 50% of people aged 13 and older in the United States are addicted to email. To simulate choosing a random sample of 20 people in this population and seeing how many of them are addicted to email, we're going to use a deck of cards. Shuffle the deck well and then draw 1 card at a time. A red card means the person is addicted to email. Black card means he isn't. Continue until you've drawn 20 cards without replacement for the sample. First of all, do we all know what's in a deck of cards? 52.
And 4 of each.
4
54
suits.
if you count the jokers.
No jokers. We don't use jokers. Unless it specifies a deck of cards with jokers. If it just says a deck of cards, no jokers. So there are 52 cards. There are 4 suits. 52 cards, 4 suits. There are hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs. Hearts and diamonds are red. Spades and clubs are black. Hearts, diamonds, those are red. Ooh, I can't draw a club. I can kind of draw a spade. Spades and clubs, those are black. There are 13 cards in each suit. Ace through king, we use the letter A for ace, and jack, queen, and king, we use letters J, Q, K. So, we're focusing on colors. Red means that they're addicted, black means they're not. So if I were to draw a card, and I need to draw 20 cards, would I be able to represent 50% using red and black?
Yes.
Yes, for the first card.
Because you're not replacing.
Not replacing. Without replacement means once I use a card, I keep it out. So the first time getting, let's say, a red card, the probability is 26 out of 52. Half of the cards are red. Once I keep that red card out, the probability I get a red card would be 25 out of 51. There's only 25 red cards left, and there's only 51 cards. That is no longer a 50% possibility that somebody is addicted or not. So this is not a good plan. The bottom one is a good plan.
I'll write that. Good plan.
Good plan.
Don't know what it is, but yeah, good plan.
They use numbers to show 95%. It's a good plan.